everybody. This is Jeff Kibbe over at MetaStock. Thanks for coming in this morning. Hope you guys can hear me okay. And good morning. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Let's go ahead and get started today. We have a special guest. He's actually in here in the office right next to me. And I'll tell you more about him as soon as we get through this legal mumbo-jumbo. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The software techniques, I can't even. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information in connection with the company. So, yeah, Trey, I skewed up. We have a kind of a bit of an improvised setup here in our conference room, and I couldn't read it. I should have it memorized, though, Trey. I've only read that like 3,000 times or so. But anyway, we have a special guest today. Robert, why don't you say hi?
Hi.
Let's go ahead and turn on your microphone, too.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, I think you're really good, Robert. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I've been in the trading industry for coming up on about 25 years now. Actually started research back in the mid-'80s. Remember back when I was about 15 and invented this thing called the moving average, having no idea that it had already been invented 40 years earlier. But being real proud of myself at the time for it. And then started getting into some neural network analysis back in the late 80s. And then in the 90s, actually started getting into actual trading. At one point, I was one of the chapter presidents of the American Association of Individual Investors. Had done that for a while, but then they were mostly fundamental analysis, and I started really getting into the technical side and figured I probably should go ahead and leave that to the groups who were still staying with the fundamentals. So went more technical at that point, and have been involved for a while. At one point, I've worked a lot with MetaStock and its groups and its software for a really long time.
You used to work here, right?
I used to work here a long time ago, back in the 90s.
I remember one of the memories I have about Robert is I remember talking to him about how cool system testing was and the fact you could go in and optimize variables. Do you remember this at all?
Vaguely, but
okay.
I just remember it's like, which is interesting because I personally am not a fan of optimization. I believe that if something is built on a good foundation, on a good principle, then the optimization should be kind of irrelevant. But that's just me. A lot of people still love on it, and that's great if that's what works for them. I prefer to do a little bit more principled design in my development. But it doesn't sound like a conversation that I would have had.
It was pretty funny. So I was kind of brand new. As most of you know, I started like 20 years ago here, right? And I was pretty new in the market, and I had just learned about what the system tester did. And I remember I was outside and we were kind of on a break, maybe it was lunchtime or something like that. And I went out and was talking to Robert about how you could really just totally curve fit a methodology and make it work extremely well. And I remember what followed that was like at least a 20-minute lecture on the perils of over-optimizing.
That sounds like me. that sounds like something I would have said is, let me tell you why, you got to be careful with that.
So Robert's been into system design for a while now.
I'm coming up on 20 years now.
He's literally written the most popular, we looked it up a few months ago, he's written the most popular systems we've had from MetaStock. Performance Systems Plus has sold more than any other thing that we've ever developed, and by a pretty good margin. So he knows what he's doing. This Ichimoku Method and the Ichimoku Master is very, very cool, and I think there's a lot of stuff. So it's going to be a good class. We're going to stop the conversational style of for now. Maybe we'll bring it back in a minute, but we're going to kind of get everything switched over to Robert and let him kind of give his class. So welcome. If you guys have questions, I'm going to monitor him over here, and we will. How about we do a question and answer kind of towards the end?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm okay. If that's something that works, sure.
So what we'll do is if you have questions as we're going through, be specific and just type them in. And towards the end, what we'll do is we'll kind of open it up, and I'll just go through the questions, and we'll go through them together. So let's go ahead and get the presentation switched over to you, Robert. You should get a note that says, do you want to share your screen? All right, we can see it.
All right, great.
All right, I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, welcome everyone. Glad to have you here. Yeah, let me give you a little bit of background on Ichimoku. I don't know what the experience level of all the people involved are, so I'm just going to make the assumption that everyone's kind of learning about it for the first time. The Ichimoku method was developed by a man in Japan back. He started doing development back in around the 30s to 40s. And what he did, he was actually a newspaper reporter. I'm trying to remember. I know Jeff's really good at the guy's name. Something. He ended up going by Ichimoku at the end.
Hasada.
Hasada, something like yeah. And I feel really bad for killing his name. But the thing is that he had done this research. He was actually a reporter. He was a journalist who had decided to get in the markets. And he actually had all of these interns over the next few years, and when I say few, I mean almost 30, doing basically manual system testing, if you will. He had them all looking at chart patterns for these 30 years, trying to figure out what in the markets, what could be done to make it so that they were somewhat, if not predictive, at least something you could take advantage of. And it was a really, really interesting process that he went through for all of that with all those people. But he came up with something that he called, basically Ichimoku. The Ichimoku Kinko Hyo, I think as it's pronounced. It's kind of hard, being an American in this, but basically it kind of is meant to say to look at a global picture, look at the picture overhead. The idea is to look at the forest, not the trees, so that you can actually see an overall global picture of what's going on in the market or on a chart. And it was something he didn't release until 1968. He released it to the public, and that being the Japanese public. Now, some of the things that are interesting about that is the Japanese market is a little bit different than the U.S. market. It trades on a 6-day-of-the-week period instead of a 5-day-of-the-week. And so a lot of the numbers and values he came up with were meant for trading in Japan. Over the time, people like it in Japan had been using this thing pretty regularly. We got introduced to candlesticks pretty heavily, or starting, I shouldn't say heavily, but we kind of got introduced to candlesticks here in the West around the 80s to 90s. Well, Ichimoku had still been going on over in Japan and didn't really come to the U.S. until the end of the 90s, early 2000s. There may have been one or two people using it, but it wasn't something that was any kind of predominant trading method. Well, now that's changed, and it's becoming a lot more prevalent as people are finding out about it and learning about how powerful it is. One of the things that's great, though, is that even though it was developed for this market of 6 days a week, the values and things they came up with seem to hold on a 5-day-a-week market. And people have done a lot of testing to try and figure out if the numbers, their indicator values, if they change them, if they'd be better. And they keep coming back saying, we haven't found a better one. We've found some that are some different values that are as good, but not anything that's actually better. So people have pretty much resorted back to his original technique because it seems to work so well, and it's just standed this long test of time. Next year, it'll be 50 years since he came out with the system, or with this method, and it still is in use and still being heavily used today and still has that value. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and let you see what it is that Ichimoku is actually about. And we're going to start off with this chart that's probably going to look a little scary to begin with. So here, we're looking at a basic Google chart with Ichimoku indicators applied. And most people will look at this and say, this is really daunting, and the fact is it kind of is. Each of these indicators, there's 5 indicators that represent 4 pieces of information. We have these 2 little lines here, which we're going to get into in a bit. We have this cloud, which is one of the main things that Ichimoku is talked about. This is known as the Ichimoku cloud. And then we have this other part that hangs in the back. Now, to begin with, we're going to follow this first part here that's showing up as this light green. This is called a Tenkan-sen. And what it is it's a midpoint of a highest high value. And I'm going to give you a view of what that actually looks like. So here on a MetaStock chart, we're showing the highest high value and the lowest low value for 9 periods. Now in that, what that indicator is showing, the Tenkan-sen is showing, is the middle point that's occurring between these 2 levels. So if we say that right there is the highest high for the last 9 periods, that's the lowest low, then the Tenkan-sen would be right in the middle. Here it comes down a little bit, so it would come down and it would hold until it starts moving again. Now, first thing is, like, what possible value could this even have? Well, this works a lot. The Ichimoku system is a trend following system. So you could consider that this is almost a replacement for a moving average. If we take a look at a standard moving average of a 9-period moving average, let's go ahead and grab that. Here we go. And we'll just call that a 9, simple. We see that it's running up and down and it's running pretty smoothly. Well, it's going in between those highest highs and lowest lows, and that's great. So why, if the moving average is doing this, why would we want to do something that's a midpoint in between? And the thing is that this moving average here is going up around inside of these prices too much without actually giving you any informational direction. If we go back to this chart here, we'll see that in this case, the price is staying above on a good movement and then comes to a low point before it comes up and comes back down. We'll see that a lot, but you'll see it more in this second indicator, which is called the Kaiju-sen, or the Kaijin-sen. The Kaijin-sen is the same as the Tenkan-sen, but instead of it being 9 periods, it's 26. And let's take a look at what that looks like over here. I'm going to go ahead and change these parameters here. So and then the Kaijin-sen is going to be in the midpoint between these 2. Now if we take a moving average and change it to 26, we get something that, that's 36. I can't type. There we go. We get something that's kind of going up right there. Now here's why you would want to use something like the Ichimoku versus a moving average. This right here is providing some kind of system of support or resistance, really keeps kind of changing around and can get you to a point where you're getting whipsawed a lot. Let's look at this is the Kaijin-sen here on this purple. And as you'll see, as this price goes up, it's providing this point here that stays up all the way up to here, and when it starts going flat, it lets you know that that's a position to be holding around or not necessarily playing too much with. So it lets you see that as a support and resistance. That's something you don't get in the moving average. The moving average is too dynamic. So that's why I said these are replacements of the moving average. They're really good in that sense that it's like a new type of moving average or a better type of trend following. And that's the thing that Ichimoku is really, really great at, is getting in of those trends and getting out of the trends. Now, the problem with any trend following system is that you risk whipsaws when you're not in a trend. And Ichimoku has a good method for trying to keep you out of it. Now, no method is perfect, and you're going to get whipsaws in any trend following system. But through what's called the Ichimoku cloud, it helps prevent you from getting too many whipsaws in that kind of an area. So we're going to come to this part here, which is the cloud. So the cloud consists of 2 indicators. It consists of this top indicator here and this bottom one. Now this top indicator, and this is where it's going to get a little confusing, is the difference between the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. So the midpoint shifted 26 periods into the future. And I'm probably confusing everyone now about that. But that's actually how it's calculated, as it shifted 26 periods into the future. The bottom indicator in this case, and that would be reversed for over here in the pink areas, but the bottom one in this case is the midpoint of what we had, like how we had the highest high and lowest low of 26 periods. Well, this is the midpoint of 52 periods shifted 26 periods into the future. When we do that shifting, we get this part that comes out over here at the end. So the cloud actually extends into the future by 26 periods. And the cloud is the difference between those two values, which is why it's shaded in there. This cloud, according to the Ichimoku concept, is an equilibrium point. This is where prices are ultimately wanting to come back to and are going to reside and hang around. And we can see that as we break out from those prices and get into the trend, it's giving us a future image as to where we should be looking at it going to. So as we come to this part here, and this right here has been projected forward, we're looking at a projection saying that our prices are wanting to be around this middle. That's that equilibrium level. So in that aspect, it's kind of giving us a projection of what we can expect. Now, it's not necessarily going to stay that way because it's going to hit trends. It's going to break away from that. But the idea is that that's where it's always going to be coming back down to. So as much as we can look at, say, the Kijun-sen as a support and resistance, we look at the cloud as the place that's the ultimate support and resistance, because that's ultimately where prices are trying to be pushed to. But those aspects can make the chart reading very confusing. We've got these two indicators which are aligned with price, and then we've got this big cloud which is shifted forward of price. Well, it gets funner than that, because we also have this indicator back here. This is known as the Chiku span, and this indicator is the closing price shifted 26 periods back. So it's going back in time 26 periods, which is why if you look at this chart, the indicator stops back here. Now, it seems to be pointless. Why would you ever want just the same price pushed backwards? Well, the idea is that if the price 26 periods ago is moving in the same area of price as it is as where our price is now, so in this case we see that our prices right, or 26 periods ago, are right around here, and our current price is also right around here. That means that we probably shouldn't be into it. That's going to be sideways motion. That's saying that, we haven't been able to break away for the last 26 periods of our price behavior. So that's where it tries to prevent there being these whipsaws when you would be going in and out by saying, you know what, this is a time of somewhat conceptual flatness. And so that's why the Chiku span is in there, is to be used as a filter of when you should or shouldn't be trading, regardless of any other signals that might be existing on the chart. So through these 4/5 pieces of information, this creates the Ichimoku method of charting. But it can also be really confusing to look at. It is something you can learn, and it's something you can learn to see and analyze very quickly. But the biggest problem that people have is when they start trying to analyze the past. And what I mean by that is if you're looking at say, some price around here, then you're having to know, looking at this part of the chart, that this right here is the projection forward, that somewhere back here is the price in the past, because you're not actually looking at, say, the Chiku span where the price is. It should be shifted 26 periods back. But our natural mind wants to look and say, oh, well, that's what the indicator is now, even though in reality it doesn't mean anything for that price bar. this is actually something that Ichimoku Master does for you, and which is why it's really good, is because it allows you, or it goes ahead and does all this analysis when you look at any particular bar, what's going on in all the forward-looking indicators, the backward-looking indicators, and it puts it right and says, here's what's going on right now in the forward, or in the future and the past together. Like I said, without something like that, it's very difficult, and you can only see the most current data. So since this is how it looks, the Ichimoku looks, let's take a look at how it's going to look in MetaStock. It's going to be a little bit different. So let's go ahead and take a look over here. And this right here is an Ichimoku chart that we're doing on Google or Alphabet. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this inner window here. Now you'll notice something different. Here we're not seeing it plot past the end of the chart. Well, MetaStock doesn't actually have the ability to plot past the end. We, however, in Ichimoku Master have created this template that allows you to see that, so you can actually trade Ichimoku on MetaStock charts. And that comes up here where we see this indicator here is the current price, and this would be the last price of the data, and then this would be the projection of that cloud going forward. So you can see those 26 periods. That's an important part in the Ichimoku process because you want to know what direction that future is pointing. Otherwise, we can look here and see that we've got the same Ichimoku information down here on the chart at any point in time. Again, though, we still have the difficulty that if we look at any bar, we can't see very well what's going on in the future or in the past because we get confused by the indicators. People who come to Ichimoku always often get scared because of the number of indicators and how confusing it can be when you're trying to learn it historically. And that's where, again, Ichimoku Master shines. This template right here comes with Ichimoku Master, by the way, so that it can go ahead and show you what's going on as well as providing this projection. But while we're here, let's take a look at the Ichimoku Master Expert Advisor, because this is where you actually get to see what's going on. So,
what was the chart you were looking at previously?
Google?
Google? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to answer a question.
Oh. Hold on. It didn't seem to want to grab the commentary there. Oh, so we selected that. Never mind. I guess we didn't. Hold on. There we go. Now, here we're seeing the Ichimoku Master Expert Advisor, and I'm actually going to undock it here just because it'll make it easier to see for the moment, but you can go ahead and dock it as you need to. Oh, disappeared somewhere. Oh, did it dock to the other side? It's over on the other window.
It's under that window.
There we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's get rid of the docking. I'm trying to get it to come back without it docking. Here we go. Now, on this chart, we're looking at the last bar of the chart, which is what it's naturally going to do, and it's going to give you a lot of information about what's going on. The one thing it's going to do is it's going to give you the basic information about the Ichimoku. Now, I'm not trying to put Jeff on the spot, but there is a bug in the Ichimoku indicators that come with MetaStock that they won't show you what the values are in the very last bar of the chart. Ichimoku Master, however, does provide that for you and fills in those values here. So if you want to see what any of the indicator values are, you can just go ahead and look at the expert. But here's the important part. Ichimoku Master has several signals that comes with it. For example, whether that Tenkan-sen is crossing above or below the Kaijin-sen is considered to be a signal. There's different kinds of signals. There's ones that would occur above the chart, ones that occur below the chart, or I should say above the cloud, one that occur below the cloud, and ones that occur inside of the cloud. This right here shows you what kind of signal is occurring and provides you any notes that are occurring with it. So in this case, it's letting you know if a cross is occurring sometime in the past, how far ago it happened, and what kind of signal it was. It also goes through the price-Kuhmo relationships. It goes through the current Kuhmo directions. And right now, you don't actually know a lot about what these mean. But the nice thing about Ichimoku Master is that it will come down here in this expert and it will explain to you what these signals are actually meaning. So it will actually teach you the Ichimoku process along the way if you don't actually know what these signals are. So each one of these, it'll actually describe here what's actually going on as far as what the signal means, and then it'll give you information that's about that particular signal at that point in time. So in this case, this right here will be fixed information, and this right here will be dynamic information based upon what's going on the chart at the moment. And it will do that description for each of those signals. So in this case, it's giving you some information. Remember I talked about how if the Chiku span, 26 periods, or the Chiku span, which is 26 periods back, is going within the price that you probably shouldn't be trading? Well, it's letting you know right here on this last bar that this trade entry is not recommended. And seeing that you only have one bullish and a bunch of bearish and stuff in between mixed, you probably wouldn't want to trade anyway, but it's making sure that you stay out. It's also letting you know when things like a Kuhmo Twist occurred, which is when the cloud changes direction. And lets you know, like I said, to what direction everything's pointing to. But it gives you a really quick way of seeing which signal is going which direction. Is it bullish or bearish? Which one do I want to be looking at? It's also letting you know what those support and resistance values are for each of the positions. The Kaijin support, which is, remember, the 26 period midpoint. And then you have the Senkou span A and the Senkou span B. The reason why B is above A in this case is because B is closer to the price than A is. So it's going to go ahead and shift and put them in the correct order as your trade is coming in, so you know where your stop values are that you might want to be placing. Now the nice thing about all this, besides it showing you here's where you can look at stops, here's your exits that you can look at, is a lot of this can get to be kind of boring if you keep seeing it again and again and again. Well, Ichimoku Master is designed to go with you as you change and increase your skill and your understanding of the Ichimoku method. So eventually you're going to come to a point of, I don't want to keep seeing these parts here over and over and over again. I only care about what's coming on here. Well, Ichimoku Master plans for that. And so right here we're looking at a complete expert. Now we're going to switch to this description free. And as we do that, it changes so that as we grow, it grows with us. Now all it's going to show us is just the information about the signals of what's going on at this point. It's not going to give us the descriptions because we have enough experience, we already know what's going on. It's just giving us the details about what's occurring on the chart at this point in time. But you know, you grow even beyond that to the point that you get the idea of the signals. You really just want to have just the basic information. So as you grow further, Ichimoku Master also grows with you as well. So that you've got the minimal. And all it is the basic information of what each signal is doing, what direction it's going, and what values you need to care about for your stop loss positions, things like that. But here's the really great part in working with Ichimoku Master versus people trying to interpret on their own, and that's the ability to analyze past signals. So in this case here, what we can do is we can go back to any of these prices and we can get signal information that's already analyzed for us. So it's already taken into account what the future information is. It's taking into account what the past information is. It's letting us know what's going on. And we can do that for every single bar in this chart. We can go and see that it's going to go ahead and project or know what's going on in the future, because right here if I want to know what's going on in the future from this point here, if I want to know what's going on here at the cloud, I see that there's these crosses up here. Well, which one am I looking at? I'd actually have to manually count 26 forward to see which one is referring to the bar I'm looking at right now. But I can look right here and see that my future Kuhmo direction is bullish for those 26 bars. So it's probably going to be somewhere in this area right here. Now, obviously, that we can see here that that changes, but it's important to know about how it reacted in the past. The same thing when you look at the Chiku span is that we'd have to count back these 26 periods just to be able to look at this various line right here and to know which one it is. This does all the counting for you. It figures out its relationship and puts it into the proper perspective. And that's one of the great things, is it takes all the confusion of these indicators that people are looking at and trying to figure out, what does this mean in the past? How would it have really told me how to get in or get out in the past? And what does it really mean? And it's taken it all for you and taken into a single quick look. So, like I said, that's one of the big powers of that, and shows you which ones are bullish and bearish. Now, I'm going to let you know right now that there are a couple of deficiencies in the Ichimoku concept, and that is while it's really good at finding good signals for getting in all honesty, it doesn't have a lot of really good signals for getting out. It's a trading method, not necessarily a system. And the method is meant to be dynamic. So I'm going to go ahead and close this expert for a moment. And the idea is that as you see expansions in things like the cloud and the price moving away, your closes are actually or your exits are supposed to change, your stops. So for example, if you're coming up here, you might want to go ahead and use the Tenkan-sen as a stop position on a really quick up move. Normally you're going to use the Kaijin-sen here, though, as your support and your crossing point. But if you're really close to the Kuhmo down here, and it's going ahead and giving you a signal, the reality is that the Kaijin-sen is probably going to be too close to be using as some value, and you would want to be using the Kuhmo values. So in the case of Ichimoku Master, it doesn't tell you when you should actually be getting out, but it does give you the positions to look at, whether you're trying to look for something that's very tight or very, very far. And so basically, in this case, for where it's showing on this bar right now, it's not saying you should be in a chart or in a position, but if for some reason you are in a position, of all of the stops that are available, there's really only a Kinko span B stop to be looking at. Your A would have already been passed, your Kaijin-sen would have already been passed, and it lets you know what those options are. So if I come to this part back here on this bar, where it was saying, here's to get in, it's letting you know here's where you would do a tight stop for your Kaijin-sen if you're really saying, I just want to lock in those profits right now, or say, I can go ahead and deal with a little bit more risk. I'm going to go ahead and take a medium stop, or I can go ahead and I just want it to be down by the bottom of the Kuhmo. So that's, like I said, a really good position for being able to see where those are and allowing you to choose depending upon how the market has been behaving. Looking at this, like I said, these right here are your entry signals, and I'll go ahead and describe some of them for a little bit here. Like I said, your TK cross signal is when your Tenkan-sen crosses above or below your Kaijin-sen. And that's one of the two primary signals that you're going to be taking into consideration. The other is going to be the price-Kuhmo relationship. These two are the two main signals that Ichimoku Method would look at. The price-Kuhmo relationship is, where is the price in relation to this cloud? So if your prices are within the cloud, you would not be taking any trades at all. The prices, if they're above the cloud, then you'd only be looking at trying to take trades on long signals, and if they're below the cloud, you'd only be trying to take them on short signals. So this right here is taking that into consideration, letting you know whether that relationship is bullish, bearish, or neutral. The current Kuhmo direction lets you know what direction the Kuhmo is around where your price is at right now. So for example, this current Kuhmo direction is bullish because it's moving up. You also have the future Kuhmo direction, and this is where the Kuhmo is pointed towards the future to let you know what's going on there. You will have various things such as a Kuhmo Twist, which we're actually coming around down here at the bottom. And this right here lets you know when Kuhmo twists happen, and that's when the Kuhmo direction is changing. And one of the things that Ichimoku Master does is if you're out here and there's a Kuhmo twist that occurs in the future, it will let you know, even though you can't see parsed here, you would be able to see it up on this window up here that there would have been a twist occur. But if you don't have this applied and you're only looking at the expert, it would let you know that this is occurring in the future and how many periods in the future and to which direction it's occurring. So it's already seeing it, like here in this example it's showing 7 periods ago because we can see that there hasn't been a Kuhmo twist in this future part. But if there had been, it would say Kuhmo twist is occurring, 20, 17, 14 periods in the future, even though you might not see it on the chart. It keeps track of that for you, and that's one of the things that makes it so Ichimoku can be traded with MetaStock really well. Another signal that we have, and this is that Chiku span that we're looking at, is the Chiku span's relation to the price, which is where we're looking at for it to be above or below the prices in the past. So since our current price has shifted 26 periods back, we want to know where it is in relationship to those prices 26 periods ago. And this keeps track of it for us. We don't have to do the counting ourselves. We don't actually even have to look at the chart to do that counting. It just lets us know. And then of course the Chiku span's relation to price as well, whether the Chiku span is above, the price is the one we were just talking about. This one is about its relationship to the Kuhmo, where the Chiku span is above or below the Kuhmo itself. And so those are all added together to let us see very quickly what kind of condition the market is in. So if we're looking at this right now, at this last piece of information on this bar, we're pretty much getting the idea that the bar before was to stay out, but we're starting to get information to go short, except one of our two primary signals is saying, we're still bullish here. So we probably shouldn't be getting in any direction right now. We don't really have a clear signal, and it's very quickly to tell you that signal doesn't really exist. That while you might have these aspects that are bearish, this right here is bearish, this right here is bullish, and those are our two main signals, and they're opposing each other. What we're really looking for is for these two to always be in the same direction to get in, and then we want to confirm with these other pieces down here, unless we get something here that says the trade entry is not recommended. And when that's coming in, that says, even though all of our signals are going in one direction, we've got something here that's an exception to the rule that says you need to hold out until these all clear up. Excuse me. And again, Ichimoku Master is really great for providing that to you and doing it in an instant. So now that we've gone ahead and shown that, I'm going to explain one other aspect of it, and then I'm going to pass it back over to Jeff for showing you some of the explorations. But one of the things that I wanted to go over was that 9 and 26. And the reason why is because how I said that in Japan, they trade on 6 days. Well, the 9 and 26 are meant to be tied to that Japanese trading month. So 9 periods is actually a week and a half for the Tenkan-sen, and then the Kaijin-sen is exactly 1 trading month. So we look at our trading months as 21 and 22 days. Their average trading month is 26 days, and so that's where that 9 and 26 have kind of come into. It's still really fascinating, though, that it didn't actually change or should have any more value when changing it to try and match a U.S. market, that people weren't actually able to make it better. Overall, the research has shown that it works well the same. And so because of that, we've gone ahead and encoded this to be identical to the Ichimoku method of trading. We haven't gone and done any creative changes or anything, we've made Ichimoku Master to follow the rules the way that it was originally designed and meant to come out to the public, because that's the way that's been shown to be most consistent across all the different methods. So from that, as much as we saw this here, what we'd like to do is say, you know, how do we go ahead and use this in an exploration? What if I'm looking for signals that I need to get right now? We're going to have Jeff come and show you some of that on the Explorer using these same results here. So.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Let's get situated over here. I actually ran a scan earlier, and it's fairly easy to do. If you're not familiar with MetaStock, which I know probably about 60% of you, if I remember from the poll this morning, aren't, the scanning allows you in MetaStock to go through and allows you to kind of figure out which ones have an opportunity today. And what I want you to do is I want you to kind of take a look here at kind of this score where we've got the orientations here. Because what Robert does is he actually kind of takes this TK cross, this price-Kuhmo relationship, the current and future Kuhmo direction, Chico span, the period since the Kuhmo twice. You notice that they all have a bullish or bearish orientation. And and basically this is a score you can use when we get into the scanner. Is that a good way to say it, Robert?
That's a great way to say it.
All right. So with MetaStock, obviously, you're going to come into the power console anytime you want to run a scan, and you can literally scan against anything that you want. Okay. In this particular case, I've already run the scan. It's the Ichimoku signal scan. And what I've done is I've actually just ran it through a pre-filtered list of optionable securities that I put together. But you can run this against anything that you want. I noticed quite a few of you were from the Asia region. Some of you from Europe. Some of you were from South America even, for those of you that answered the poll. And you can apply this to whatever region that you want. I've done it on optionable stocks here in the U.S., and a subsection of that, 2494, I weeded out the other ones based on volume and price. Okay, if you are interested in trading any other type of a market, let's say that you're kind of in Singapore and you want to do the Singapore Stock Exchange or the Hong Kong Exchange or whatever, down here you'll be able to find just about anything, any lists that you want. Okay, we have with our Reuters data, we have lists that are put together that encompass this 381,847 stocks, futures, forex, currencies, mutual funds. Just about one of the things Reuters likes to brag about, and they should, is the fact that they cover 95% of the global market cap. In the case of running this scan, basically just selected the Ichimoku signal scan. Okay, and in addition to that, what I've done is I've done it against that pre-filtered list of securities. So basically ran it against 2,494 stocks. Okay, the way that the report comes back, I'll just kind of show you the report. This will read out about 90. When I looked at the number when I was running it, as I was kind of getting everything put together for the event today, it'll read out about 92% of the stocks. So automatically, without even going any further, what you're doing is you're looking at 8% of the stocks that actually have an opportunity. Now, to define opportunity, that's any of the two main signals that Robert just talked about, which would be the TK cross.
The TK cross.
And
the close relationship to the Kuhmo.
And the close relationship to the Kuhmo. Okay, and you can kind of define what those are. If it's a -2, that's going to be a bearish signal. And if it's a +2, it's going to be a bullish signal. And I have to kind of just hover over this real quick, and it'll tell me which ones are which. So a 1 is a long re-enter signal, a 2 is a long main signal. A -1 is a short re-enter signal, and a -2 is a short main signal. Okay, let's go back into the report. I just forgot exactly kind of the terminology used right there. Here we've got the TK cross, the Kuhmo cross, and you can either, if you're looking for the TK cross or the Kuhmo cross, you can actually kind of identify that here.
That's not the Kuhmo. That's the Kuhmo, or the close relationship to the Kuhmo.
The close relationship to the Kuhmo.
Yeah.
See, I need experts in here. This is and then it kind of gives you all of those. If we kind of go back and look at the expert advisor, a total score. So in other words, right here we've got a total score of 6. 6 is the maximum score.
Correct.
So
everything's bullish at that point.
So in theory, at least, what you can do is if you're looking for a bullish signal and you want to have all of those things match up perfectly, you can just basically sort it by this score. Anything that has a 6, and just to kind of switch back here, oops, let's switch back here. Anything that has a 6 is going to be totally bullish across the spectrum for us. Okay, and then what we can do from there is, just going back into the report here, anything that has a 6, if we just want to identify those stocks that have a 6 and kind of maybe take a look at them, there's actually quite a few of them from Friday. Okay.
But be aware, though, you're not necessarily always needing to go for everything that's a 6. There's still very valid signals that are going to be in the 5s and the 4s as a market is starting to come together and create, or as a trend is starting to come together. So you're still looking for the TK cross and the closed Kuhmo relationship to always be in the same direction. That's key. That's paramount. But outside of that, you're then looking for other parts to come together. Like you definitely want the future Kuhmo to be in the same direction, but the current Kuhmo probably isn't going to be that important. It's more of when everything's going, then you know you're clearly in a bullish direction and probably have been for a while. You okay on that one?
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
But, you know, like I said, you're really looking for primary signals with some confirming signals. So don't ignore ones that aren't a 6, because a lot of times you'll see that those are signals that are coming to play on a trend that's already there, and sometimes you want to make sure that there's a trend that's just beginning. So just something to keep in mind for all of that.
Okay. And then one of the things that you can also do fairly easily, of course, is, you know, the idea is to kind of narrow it down. And you probably, even though we filtered out 92% of the securities, what you're going to want to be able to do is kind of take a look at those really quickly, right? And then you're going to want to be able to identify which ones that you kind of are interested in. The way I like to do this in MetaStock is I just save this list. Okay, so if I save the list here, you'll see that I have one that I need to delete later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new list name here, and I'm just going to call this Ichi results, and we'll name it for the day 9/23, just so I can remember when I made it. Okay, go ahead and create that. I'll go ahead and click on OK. And now what this allows me to do, I'm going to go ahead and close this report out for now. Go back to the charting console here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'll just go to that custom list. See, I've got it right here. It's the Ichi results. There's 201 securities that I can go through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select Apple. Interesting, Apple came up today. I'm going to go ahead and apply the Ichi template here. So without even opening up the chart, I can say, okay, well, I want to look at the Ichimoku method. Okay, and that's how you do it, Ichimoku method. One of the questions we had earlier was, how do you get that top pay? And it was actually Lana that asked, how do you get the top pay? This is how. Number one, just select the security you want to open. You can also type it in up here and apply the template Ichimoku when you open up the chart. That's all you have to do. We go ahead and click on open, and that template is going to be automatically applied for you. So that should help you with that question. What I want to do now is I want to decide which expert advisor I want to apply. You'll notice that there's no commentary that's applied here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the expert advisor. It's going to be over here on my other screen because it likes to stay over there. I'm going to go ahead and just do the complete. Okay, you can go ahead and attach that. Go ahead and click on close. I'm going to go ahead and dock this off to the side. Now I can kind of see it broken down. I can see what the bullish-bearish relationships are. It's breaking down all those indicators for me. And now, now that I've got it saved on a list, if I click on this next instrument right here, it's going to take me to the very next stock in that scan result. Okay, so right now we should have a major signal here, and we do. Did you show them how to turn on the buy signals and sell signals?
No, I didn't.
Let me show you how to do that, because by default they're off, and Robert does that because he likes to keep a simpler screen. I actually disagree a little bit. I like to see when these crosses actually occur on the screen, and it's very simple to turn that on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Expert Advisor right here. I'm going to go to Properties. It will ask me, oh, actually it's not asking me because it will ask you, though, for a password. And what you're going to do is just go ahead and click on cancel with that button. But you can come over here and turn on signals on the chart, which will display these buy and sell signals for you. When the TK cross goes long, TK cross goes short. You can also do so these are the two main signals Robert was talking about, close above the Kuhmo, close below. You can just check them all, click on OK. And this is the view I prefer. I just like to see when those happened on the chart, see when those major crosses come in. So that's a little bit of some advice in terms of what I'd like to see. There's a couple things that I want to point out a little bit in particular relationship to this product. It's been extremely popular so far. If you've already picked it up and you're in the room, let me know. Just kind of chat in there and just let me know. But it's been an extremely popular product. It seems like Ichimoku is a very well-respected, well-known method. The things that I particularly like about it is Robert kind of designed this on his own. It's not like a lot of products that we come out with. I really literally had no idea what Ichimoku even was. And for me, I was able to kind of apply the expert advisor, go through it, and understand it on a very, very pretty detailed level. You know, it kind of breaks down everything, what's going on the chart for you. And these details are very, very handy because it tells you, okay, these are the things that you want to watch for. The Tenkan signal cross is the predominant signal of the each trading system, similar to a moving average. The black part is always going to be there. The blue part actually relates to the chart. So it's well organized in terms of as you're learning about this thing. You can actually kind of figure out exactly what it's doing just by reading the commentary and kind of keeping abreast of the commentary. It does a really, really good job of that. And, you know, I've seen classes that are actually out there where they might be using like a TK cross or a close above the Kuhmo type of a relationship, and that's primarily what they're teaching you in a class. And guess what? That class is like $6,000. Whereas personally, I was able to kind of go through and learn a lot of what this is doing just by using the expert advisor. So very, very cool stuff. Let's see what kind of questions we've got. I've jotted a few down, and we're just going to take them one at a time here. So let's see. This was a fun one. Okay. Lana asked, Vaja asked, which is better or more effective, fundamental analysis or technical analysis?
Going back to my, if we're looking at it, if we're going to take the Ichimoku concept of a global picture, they both have their value. If you are looking at trying to stay into something for a period of time, here's kind of the way I look at it. You can do technical analysis without any fundamental information, but you cannot do a fundamental trade without technical information. Because even on a fundamental analysis, you're entering based upon price. So by that definition, there's a technical aspect to it. I find that technical analysis is important to align with fundamental trading. You can use technical analysis by itself, but fundamental works better if you use technical analysis with it. I think if you want to add in a fundamental approach, it can be valuable, but the philosophy behind technical analysis is that people who are trading are defining those prices. And so I think that there's certainly some validity to that, that any stock or any product is only worth what people are willing to pay for it at that time, regardless of whatever is owned by it or its debt values or things like that. So I think something such as fundamental analysis might be really good for evaluating a basket to look at, but at what point you're going to get in or out of that particular product should be based upon the technicals, and that would be my perspective on it. That may not be shared by a lot of other people, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I actually kind of had the same kind of reaction. I answered it in chat when it came in, and part of me just want to go, well, technical analysis, of course. But
it has, fundamental has its value, and don't get rid of that.
And
it's
I
really
believe
good for
fundamental is really good, especially if you're looking for kind of those really long-term type of.
If you're looking at investing,
yeah.
then perhaps fundamental really is way to. If you're looking for an investment,
the shorter the time frame, the less
value it has, because things that would be more important for shorter term would be something like news-based trading, not necessarily fundamental. But certainly, I'd still, no matter what I'm using, I'd use the technicals to help tell me when to get in and out of whatever it is that I wanted to be playing with.
Lana, you had asked the question about how to get the top cane, and I'm going to go through that again. There's a couple ways to do it. If you are doing it from like the power console, what you're going to do is you just select the Ichimoku template. If you forgot to do that though, and you opened up a chart, the other way to do that is anytime that you want to, you can just right click on this particular chart. You can go to apply template, and it'll give you a list of the templates. You just go down there. So you don't necessarily have to do really anything other than that. You just apply the template, and it's going to go ahead and give you all of the indicators set up in exactly this fashion.
By the way, just to put in as a note there, if Ichimoku does become your basic method of trading and you find out that it's what you're using more than anything else, you can actually set that template up to be your default.
Right.
And that way, every chart you open immediately comes up looking like that.
And to do that, just right-click on the chart. You notice I picked a blank area. Go ahead and click on Save as Default Template, and that'll do it for you. It's that easy. I'm not going to do that, though. Okay. Let's go to the next question. I thought I had something to say there, but, you know, it's a little bit early here in Utah. It's too late to use that as an excuse, though, I'll say. Travis just made a comment that I thought was interesting, that the Chiku span is the most important and the most useful indicator. We did have a question from Lannon also as well. Lannon, I did actually look up your account, and you're using the Icon FX program. And thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It's a great product. I'm sure you love it. For this, what you're going to need is, this is actually something that works on our MetaStock RT product. Okay, MetaStock RT you can get. It's a subscription that you can subscribe to, and it's going to give you a lot more technical capabilities. So this is also an add-on to that. And so I'll go through pricing real quick for you. We're going to kind of go through it again in a second. But this product itself is normally $399. Okay, that's what we're going to do here is we're going to do $299, plus we're going to do a bonus class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Robert's pointing out the time. I think he's got someplace to be.
No, it's not that. I wanted to make sure before people are leaving that you let them know about the bonus class.
Yeah.
That's an important part.
Okay, so we are running a little bit shy on time. I don't want you to kind of jump off and leave real quick on me. Do you have a few minutes to take some questions after we get there?
Yeah.
Okay. So
let's try and keep them around philosophy. We don't want to waste other people's time by pulling up individual charts or anything like that.
Just kind of the broader bridge.
Yeah, but you know, if you've got questions about Ichimoku Method or philosophies, then absolutely we can go ahead and do that.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and send the presentation back over to my screen then.
Okay.
And then I'm going to walk over here. Your mic's still on, by the way.
Okay.
So let me just go ahead and get ready for this. Okay. All right. And so just to reiterate, again, this product, I think it's good in a couple of different ways. Number one, it's really good for education. You know, if you don't know much about Ichimoku, you're more than welcome to go grab like a $6,000, $7,000 class and learn part of it. But you can learn it as part of this product. And what's better about that is then it helps you implement it. In other words, it's going to allow you to scan, so it's going to allow you to get that score. It's going to help you understand the kind of the correlations. Ichimoku, and I think Robert would totally agree with me, it's a lot of indicators to keep track of.
It is a lot, which is the whole reason that Ichimoku Master was made, is because, like I said, a lot of people have found a lot of confusion. They will spend months trying to get their head wrapped around looking forwards and backwards, because we're not really designed for doing that. You know, we get confused, and I've had this when I've had people looking and trying to learn Ichimoku, when they're looking at past signals, and they're saying, well, I don't see why, you know, I'm looking at the cloud, and the cloud was doing this. It's like, yes, but the thing is, the cloud was not doing that 26 periods in the future, but they're still thinking, like, what's the cloud doing right now, which is great. Or they're saying the Chiku span was doing this. It's like, yeah, but you're looking at the Chiku span on the bar you're at right now. The Chiku span you should be looking at is 26 periods ago, what it was doing then. And so, you know, when we're looking at past values, it can be really, really confusing to get your head wrapped around that. And that's one of the reasons why actually so many people have, you know, even though it's such a great method, a lot of people have left Ichimoku, not because it's not valuable and not because it's not tradable, but because it's just mind-bending to be looking back and forth if you're not used to it. And it does take some time. Fortunately, Ichimoku Master stays with you and is patient and doesn't berate you or anything, and instead gives you that time to go ahead and look at those signals and see what's going on. So it's really great for that.
We have an echo, so I'm going to move your mic over.
Okay.
We had a complaint about echo, and that's, I think, because we have 2 live mics in one small room. So we're going to go ahead and share a microphone just so that we don't have that. So here's a list of what's included in the Ichimoku. You're going to get all of the indicators. You're going to get the system tests. There are system tests in here as well.
There are system tests. Oh, there's another thing which I forgot to mention. For any of you that are developers, this system's a little bit different than, or this plugin's a little bit different than others. We've actually opened it up so that if people want to write their own systems using the Ichimoku method, and we've made it so you can actually get all of our signals and write your own system tests. You can write your own new explorations. As you figure out there's things better for you, you can actually customize it if you're into the development aspect. Most other products don't do that, but we have opened ours up and have a little bit of the instructions inside of how to modify it.
Okay, so just to kind of go over the pricing with this, it's a $399 cost. That's one time, so it's not a subscription-based product. You buy it, you own it, it's yours forever. It's $299 if you order it through the webinar that we're doing today. So we're going to give you $299 special. In addition to that, if you need MetaStock, the real-time version, or MetaStock, the end-of-day version, we're going to throw in a subscription for that for you. And I could go and wax on about what MetaStock is and what it does. We'll just leave it here. For those of you that don't have MetaStock, MetaStock is a product that's been rated #1 in its price category every single year since 1994 or 1993, one of those two. So 24 years in a row. And it helps you scan, like we're showing here. Helps you test trading ideas, has to see how they're profitable, has the great alert functionality and the expert advisor, all of which Robert's really using well in this add-on. He really, one of the reasons people like his products and buy more of his products than any of our other add-on products is because he really knows his way around MetaStock. So he's done a great job. If you buy it, we're going to do a free class for you that's going to be a bit extended. It's going to be Thursday at 6 p.m.
This upcoming Thursday.
That's Mountain Time. So to convert that to something that matters for you, that'll be 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? And even if you buy this thing and try it, decide you don't like it, go to the class, decide it's not going to help you with your trading, you can return it for a full refund within 30 days. Do you think that's a pretty good risk-reward, Robert?
I like it.
Okay. So to try it out, just give us a call. We have a couple of guys in the office. They're here to help. 800-882-3040. If you want to chat online, you have some questions, we're going to answer a few more questions. Both of us have a little bit of some engagement, so maybe like 3 or 4 more questions. But if you have questions and you want to talk to a rep about it, calling is probably the best, 800-882-3040. If you're international or you're a little bit shy, you can chat online at metastock.com/saleschat. And you can also pick this up online at metastock.com/TSA-itchy. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we kind of start answering some questions?
No, I think going to questions should be great. What do people have?
All right. I had a few more written down, and then we'll just see here.
Okay.
Let's see. I already talked about that. I showed how to turn on the signals. So let's go ahead and kind of say, Matt Gronwood asked, is there enough time to show off, a system test? We can send you some system test results. The issue is no, there isn't enough time. Charles asked a question. Could you be a little bit more about the product and the predictive nature of it? So I think what he's saying is how long, like if you get a Kuhmo Twist, about how long does the signals last? Because I believe what he's asking. Okay.
Well, technically a signal is generated, I mean, you get it when it occurs. But there will be times that you can obviously still enter in, but that's going to be a very subjective value. When you get a signal, it's trying to get you into the beginning of a trend, and you can obviously keep getting it in the middle of the trend, but you don't know how long that trend is going to go on for, so the earlier the better. So, like I said, I don't know that I can really answer that question really well. I will, however, go to his other question as far as what distinguishes this product from other Ichimoku products. I'd like to go ahead and grab to that one because the main thing I've noticed about the other Ichimoku products is, one, they're usually based around a particular person's trading philosophy. And what I mean by that is a lot of people who use Ichimoku have found little details that work for them. Some of these market experts find things that work for them. They'll deviate from the original because they think that they found something special, and sometimes they have. But you're not actually learning the real Ichimoku method at that point. The other one is that a lot of times they will hard code in the exit materials, which are not fixed according to the Ichimoku process. And so because of that, it could get you out of signals or out of trades that you look at and say, well, why would it possibly have got me out of there? I just lost a lot of money. The real Ichimoku method doesn't do that. It's meant to be somewhat dynamic and let you see what's happening with it. And so this tries to stay true to the original Ichimoku design. The other thing that I've also noticed is that a lot of the other ones, and I won't say most because I haven't used most, but I've used some of the others, is that they will often just keep everything tied to the price Kuhmo relationship and the TK cross relationship without bringing a lot of the other components in. The Chiku span's a big thing to be using as a filter and for letting you see concepts of direction. And without that, you're really not using Ichimoku. But a lot of things will leave that out because people don't understand why it would have that value. Why does looking at the past or moving 26 periods in the past have any value? Well, it does, and that's what we try and explain to you also in the product. The fact that it also can go back through previous signals and walk you through what's going on in the past, I think is a big thing that separates from all the others. I haven't seen any other product that goes through historically to show you signal behavior and what it does and why it's doing what it is. So those would be my big things as far as what separates us from others.
I'd agree with that. And I think kind of to me, and I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of Ichimoku products, but the ones that I've seen are kind of using a very small part of what the Ichimoku is. Like they're allowing you to scan based on the cross above the Kuhmo or the cross above the TK, just like Robert was saying. Where you can do that with this product, it's generally cheaper than most of the products I've seen around Ichimoku, and it's a much more complete, let's say complete.
Or to the original Ichimoku philosophy. It stayed true to the Ichimoku philosophy.
I think that's all the questions.
Okay. Well, I hope we've got everyone's questions. If not, I apologize. I can't see them all, so I don't get to have that benefit. But I really thank you all for coming to this today. It's been fun coming back.
I think we got them all, but if we missed it, I apologize too. We have a bit of a small window over here that we're kind of trying to scoop. John asked, how soon can we expect MetaStock to upgrade the charts? John, that's actually something we're working on right now. I'm not going to give a date, but I think it's going to be next year.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, one other question that I did see that Paul says he hates your color scheme.
Paul, okay.
He's like, can I change it up? And I just wanted to say, yeah, absolutely. If you don't like kind of the way the indicators are looking on the chart,
yes,
you want to adjust them, you just right-click on them, go to Properties, change the color to whatever you want, make it appealing to you, and then save that as a template, and you only have to do it once.
Yeah, the one thing you can't change is in the Expert Advisor, where it's like showing the Tenkan-sen and the Kaijin-sen in the Expert itself and the commentary. Those colors are fixed, and that's just because we don't have, there's not a dynamic way to change the textual information. But as far as the indicators or anything like that, yes, you can go ahead and change those.
John follows up with by the year end ? I'll just say this: I've seen the new charting engine. They've got it working and prototyped, and it's really, really cool. But again, I'm not going to give any time frames. Everything gets slippery, and we'll release it when it's ready. How about that? All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Again, the phone number for that, I got off that phone number page on accident, but it's 800-882-3040. These guys are going to be here until they stop getting phone calls. So if you have questions, you want to kind of call, you want to get that order in, you can download it immediately. You can use it all weekend, but you're going to want to call right now, 800-882-3040.
Make sure so you can get that class coming up next Thursday.
Robert, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And for everybody that came, great attendance today. I want to say thanks for spending part of your Saturday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you at the next one.